The door clicked shut behind us, and my chest fluttered with anticipation. He moved with the quiet confidence only a man in his 50s could carry, and then I felt the second presence just as close. I had only expected one, but with both of them watching me now, I knew the night was about to stretch far beyond anything I'd imagined. Before I tell you how it all unfolded, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps more than you know, and it makes sure you don't miss what comes next. I had grown tired of men my age. They rushed into everything, never listening, never slowing down. Sitting at the cafe that evening, I stirred my drink and wondered why no one seemed to understand me, or how to talk to me in a real, meaningful way. That was when I noticed them. Two men, both in their 50s, dressed sharp but relaxed, walking in with a steady calm that filled the room. They didn't scan the place like they needed attention. They carried themselves as if the room would naturally come to them. My chest tightened as a thought I'd carried for years returned. Maybe someone older would understand me better. One of them caught my glance and didn't look away. He lifted his glass with the smallest nod, and the second followed, already smiling as if he somehow knew I'd been watching. I felt heat rise to my face when they crossed the room, choosing the two empty seats beside me. "You look like you're waiting for someone," the first said, voice low and steady. "Or maybe hoping someone shows up," the second added with a warm grin. I laughed softly, shaking my head. "Or maybe just tired of the wrong kind of company." "And what's the right kind?" the first asked, leaning just close enough for me to notice the gentle hint of his cologne. "Someone who doesn't waste my time," I said, surprising myself with the honesty in my voice. They shared a quick look as if coming to the same quiet agreement. "Experience usually takes care of that," the second said, his eyes steady on mine. The word lingered, experience. It was exactly what I'd been thinking. The conversation flowed so easily after that. They teased me about my drink choice. I teased them about their calm confidence. They didn't interrupt each other, and neither tried to outshine the other. It was as if they were both content to let me sit at the center, enjoying the attention from both sides. "Tell me," the first asked, "what's someone like you doing here alone?" "Maybe I was waiting for you," I said, half teasing, half true. The second tilted his head. "Both of us," I bit my lip, my laugh breaking the tension just enough. "I didn't say that." "But you didn't say no," he countered gently. Silence wrapped around us then, warm and charged. My pulse quickened, and I knew a choice was hanging in the air. "Maybe we should leave," the first finally said, his voice softer now. My stomach flipped. "And go where? My place is nearby," he answered. The second leaned in, his hand brushing lightly against mine on the counter. "Closer than you think." For a moment I hesitated, the thrill sparking sharp in my chest. Then I nodded. We stood together, their presence on both sides of me as we walked toward the door. The city waited outside, but my thoughts were already ahead of us, racing toward what I had just agreed to. The evening air was cool when we stepped outside, but I hardly felt it. My pulse was still speeding as one of them opened the rideshare door for me. The other slipped into the front seat, while I settled into the back, the second man sitting beside me. The city lights flowed across the windows, streaks of color and shadow, but all I noticed was the closeness. His arm rested near mine, gentle and reassuring. The warmth of his presence filled the small space, steady and calm. "You're quiet now," the one beside me murmured, his tone a soft tease. "Maybe I'm just thinking," I said. "About what?" the man in front asked, turning slightly, his eyes meeting mine in the mirror. I smiled faintly, not trusting myself to answer. My thoughts were too scattered, too fast. The man beside me leaned a little closer, his voice warm. "You don't have to say anything. We're here." I felt a gentle touch at my wrist from the man in front, simple and comforting, and my breath caught at how easily they understood the moment still thinking. The one beside me asked, his words quiet and kind. I managed to laugh, though my chest felt too tight. If I was, I'm not anymore. The driver never spoke, as if the world outside the car had faded away, leaving only the three of us in this calm, drifting space. I lost track of the turns, the streetlights, even time itself. All I felt were their voices, their presence, their attention settling on me again and again. When the car finally slowed, I blinked in surprise, realizing we had already arrived. The ride had disappeared in a blur, anticipation softening every minute. The apartment was quiet when we stepped inside, the kind of quiet that made every sound clearer. The lights were low, giving the room a warm glow across leather chairs and polished shelves. It felt calm, thoughtful, as if the night had already been waiting for us. One of them went to pour drinks while the other helped me out of my coat. His fingers brushed my shoulder, light and steady, lingering with gentle reassurance. My breath caught, and I realized how close the other one stood when he returned, glass in hand, his expression soft. "Sit," he said gently. Motioning toward the sofa, I lowered myself onto the edge, my hands unsteady around the glass. One sat beside me, his knee angled toward mine, while the other leaned against the armrest opposite, his eyes calm and patient. They didn't rush. They didn't need to. The one beside me let his hand glide lightly along my arm, fingertips brushing my wrist before resting around my palm. The other reached forward to tuck a loose strand of hair behind my ear, his knuckles faintly grazing my cheek. "You're trembling," he murmured. "Am I?" I whispered, though I already knew. Their presence folded around me from both sides. One voice soft at my ear, the other steady across from me, holding me in place with his gaze. My chest tightened, my pulse quickening with every passing second. "Still curious?" the one in front asked, his words a gentle challenge. I couldn't answer. My lips parted, but no sound came out. He leaned forward just enough that I felt the warmth of him, though he stopped before anything more. At the same time, I felt the other's supportive hand at my side, grounding me, steadying me. In that moment, surrounded by both, I understood the night hadn't even begun, and already I felt completely seen. The room seemed to shift as they leaned closer. One at my side, the other just ahead, their presence wrapping around me until I felt held in something calm and safe. My chest rose faster, my skin warmed, and I realized there was no space left that wasn't touched by their attention. A gentle hand slipped down my arm, tracing the inside of my wrist before curling softly around my fingers. At the same time, another hand rested at my waist, reassuring and patient. The combined warmth sent a jolt through me, emotional, overwhelming, and I didn't know where to look, whose eyes to meet. Their gaze held mine carefully, one leaned just close enough that I felt the soft brush of his breath on my cheek. The other's voice drifted low beside me. "Still with us?" he murmured, my lips parted, no words forming. The only sound was my breathing, uneven and too quick. The one beside me brushed my hair back gently, letting his fingers trail down the side of my neck in a comforting, steady motion. My pulse kicked harder. Then the other leaned in, his thumb lifting my chin slightly, guiding my gaze until I was looking right at him. I thought he might close the distance, but instead he simply rested his forehead near mine, calm and grounding. The other's hand pressed more firmly at my waist, pulling me a little closer in a slow, reassuring motion until I felt held between them like something certain. The sofa dipped under their weight as they shifted closer. One knee brushed lightly against mine, sending warmth up my leg. Fingers threaded gently through my hair, steadying me, while another hand held mine with quiet assurance, every point of contact layered together until I couldn't separate one feeling from the other. They guided me deeper into the cushions, their presence on both sides forming a quiet shelter around me. One leaned near my shoulder, speaking softly along the curve of my neck, while the other bent toward me, his voice a whisper at my ear. "Breathe," he said calmly, grounding me again. I hadn't realized I'd been holding it. The fabric of my dress shifted as one palm rested at my back, while the other traced slow, gentle circles across my stomach, comforting, steady, soothing. My head tipped back without thinking, letting the feeling of safety wash over me. I tried to keep track of whose hand was where, whose breath warmed my skin, but it blurred too quickly. a soft storm of warmth and emotion all at once. My senses split and rejoined, leaving me unguarded against the rush. Their rhythm stayed unhurried but full, each gentle touch lasting just long enough to lift my breath before another followed. A hand grounding me, another guiding, another smoothing, another supporting. My chest rose too fast. My breath came uneven until the sound of it filled the room, louder than the quiet hum of the city outside. "You feel it now, don't you?" one of them asked, voice calm and sure. "Yes," I nodded, eyes closing, every nerve alive with emotion. The closeness of them pressed from both sides, steady and warm, guiding me, supporting me, surrounding me. My thoughts moved without direction, responding to theirs, drawn into a feeling I couldn't pull away from. I felt held, understood, completely opened. And in that blur, in that warm rush, I understood something real. I had thought I only wanted to know what it felt like to be understood by one older man. But here, held by both, overwhelmed by every gentle word, every steady touch, every quiet promise of calm, I realized the truth. One was never what I truly wanted. The night wrapped around me completely. That was the night I finally learned what it meant to open up fully. And it wasn't about curiosity. It was about being with people who had the experience to guide me, further than I thought I could go. So tell me, if it had been you in that apartment, would you have stayed steady enough to guide me through it? Or would you have let someone else take the lead? Be honest in the comments. I'll be reading every word. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Your support means more than you know, and it keeps these stories alive.